How's it going, everyone? I am Count Jinsula, and welcome to another Pokemon GO video. Today, I am going to take a deep dive into Reshiram and Zekrom with their signature moves. This is definitely one you will not want to miss. Right, so let's roll the intro and get right into it. Alright, let's talk about Reshiram and Zekrom. So, as of January 1st, 2023, Reshiram is going to be available with its signature move Fusion Flare. While Niantic hasn't confirmed it yet at the time that I recorded this video, it is speculated that Zekrom, which is going to be in raid battles right after Reshiram, is going to have its signature move Fusion Bolt. There's been a lot of discussions regarding whether either of these signature moves improve their respective Pokemon. Well, they certainly do, at least for one of them. So let's take a look at each of them individually, starting with Reshiram. This Pokemon is a Dragon and Fire type. This unique type combination gives Reshiram a lot of really good resistances and not a lot of weaknesses. It is weak against Dragon, Ground, and Rock types. It also has a double resistance to Fire and Grass, and regular resistances to Bug, Electric, and Steel. As you can see, Dragon and Fire definitely coordinate well with each other. Whether it's PvP or raids, Reshiram is going to have a lot more type advantages over most other fire types. Something to keep in mind is that Reshiram only takes neutral damage from water types due to its dragon typing. This could give it a heads up on other fire types like Ho-Oh, Moltres, and Entei. But next, let's take a look at Reshiram's stats. It actually has some phenomenal base stats for both PvP and raid battles. It has a base attack stat of 275, a base defense stat of 211, and a base stamina stat of 205. These stats are extremely well rounded, but it is higher than the average when it comes to its base attack. So now, let's talk about its moves. It can come with the fast attacks Fire Fang and Dragon Breath, and the charge attacks Fusion Flare, Stone Edge, Draco Meteor, Overheat, and Crunch. In terms of what the ideal moveset is going to be, you will want to lean on using Reshiram as a fire type attacker. Thus, I would go with Fire Fang as its fast attack, and Fusion Flare and Draco Meteor as its charge attacks. If we were going to talk about PvP, however, I would suggest using Dragon Breath instead of Fire Fang. You don't lose out on any DPS, but you will have more type damage advantages, and it is a much more spammable fast move. It will be much more difficult for your opponents to count fast attacks towards your charge attacks, so it will most certainly be a much better move to use. Now, the reason why you will want to use Fusion Flare instead of Overheat is simply because it is a better fire type move in all situations. In terms of raids, it will deal a lot more damage over time, and in terms of PvP, it will be much more spammable and it doesn't debuff Reshiram when you use it. Since Reshiram only has these two moves as its fire type options, you will obviously want to go with the better one. So yeah, overall, this Pokemon sees a significant improvement with its signature move. If we take a look at how it ranks up in terms of fire type raid damage, it is actually the #1 non-mega fire type. It even beats out shadow fire types like Moltres and Darmanitan. The only Pokemon that beat it are, of course, Mega Charizard Y and Mega Blaziken. But considering you can only have one Mega at a time, you will most certainly want to use Reshiram with Fusion Flare on your team alongside your Mega Evolution. That will grant you the most fire type raid damage possible. Now in terms of PvP, Reshiram with Fusion Flare is going to stand out the most in the Master League. While it may not make a huge difference in the Ultra League, it is certainly going to be useful in the Master League specifically because of its type combination, and higher damage output compared to other fire types like Ho-Oh. So yeah, Reshiram is important, especially with Fusion Flare. If you can get yourself a 100% IV of this Pokemon, you are going to be set for life. It is phenomenal for raid battles, and it is going to be dominant in the Master League. But next, let's talk about Zekrom. Like Reshiram, this Pokemon has the Dragon type as part of its duo typing. It has weaknesses to Dragon, Fairy, Ground, and Ice, and a double resistance to Electric types and regular resistances to Fire, Flying, Grass, Steel, and Water. In terms of type combinations, Zekrom doesn't share a lot of the same benefits as Reshiram. It doesn't have a lot of the coverage against anti-dragons with its Electric type and vice versa. This means it may not necessarily perform all too well in PvP, at least compared to Reshiram. It can, however, be a lot better than most other electric types, as Dragon does still resist quite a few different Pokemon that are fairly common. Zekrom also shares the same base stats as Reshiram. It has a base attack stat of 275, a base defense stat of 211, and a base stamina stat of 205. Similar to that Pokemon, it has a lot of well-roundedness with a higher emphasis on its attack stat. Next, let's talk about Zekrom's moves. It can come with the fast attacks Charge Beam and Dragon Breath, and the charge attacks Flash Cannon, Wild Charge, Outrage, and Crunch. Now, it is speculated that it will receive its signature move Fusion Bolt when it returns to raids next week, but is it actually an improvement to Zekrom's moveset? Well, unfortunately no, not really. It is not going to be a massive improvement. This is because Zekrom already has one of the most powerful electric type attacks in its move pool, which is Wild Charge. This is the case for both raid battles and PvP, as it deals a lot more damage over time compared to Fusion Bolt. The good thing is that Zekrom has always been a relevant Pokemon even without its signature move. This Pokemon with Wild Charge and the resistances from its Dragon typing does make it a top raid attacker, just behind all of the Shadow Pokemon and Xurkitree. It is also still really good for the Master League, for much of the same reasons I highlighted with Reshiram. So yeah, in conclusion, if we were to compare both of these two Pokemon based on their signature moves, it is pretty evident that Reshiram is going to gain the most benefit. While Fusion Bolt is still a powerful electric type attack, it is not enough to make Zekrom any more powerful than it already is. But Fusion Flare vastly improves Reshiram all the way to the top when it comes to raids, and it makes it much more viable in the Master League. If you would have to choose, however, I would definitely prioritize Reshiram. It is by far the best fire type, whereas Zekrom is only among the best. Likewise, I think you will get more uses out of Reshiram in PvP. I could be wrong here, but it feels like you would slot it into more teams a lot easier. Plus, there aren't too many good fire types that are readily available. These are just some of the things to consider when it comes to either of these Pokemon. But in any case, that's going to be it for this video. Leave your thoughts down below in the comments what you think about either of these Pokemon and their signature moves, and let's have a great discussion. And if you ended up enjoying this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support my channel in any way, big or small, then be sure to check out the links in the description below. For all my patrons, they get a permanent spot on my in-game friends list, so if you want to interact with me in some way, like with remote raids, then do consider becoming a patron on my Patreon. But yeah, that's going to be it. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch y'all later.